Aha. Red button means we're live. Some Casual Takes, episode 60, hosted by your boy Stephen Pepper, here to casually talk sports. This episode is brought to you by no one. And as you can see on your screen, we have no one here with me today. We have a solo pod. Like I said, on Monday, I'm trying to do more solo pods. I'm starting a little late start. Sorry, I got out of bed a little later, and I wanted to be as prepared for the show as possible. Started watching back more film. I'm going to get prepared. It was a little rocky Sunday for me yesterday. So I came a little late. That's my bad. I was dealing with stuff yesterday, but I'm here. I'm back. I'm here on Monday. And like I said, Mondays are solo shows. I don't have class today. Usually why Mondays are solo shows is because I have class, and people who would usually be featured in me had class as well. But since we don't have class today, though, but I started a little late, I didn't want to drag people in. So I'm going to still try to stick with the solo format on Mondays. How is everyone doing today? How is everyone doing today? As you can see by the title, we have Coach Prime. We're talking about Coach Prime's Colorado victory in his first game as the head coach of that team. We're also talking about Chris Jones and the Kansas City Chiefs. We're talking the NFL Week 1. We have a slate. This is the last show before Week 1 kickoff of the NFL season. Kickoff is 3 days away on Thursdays, and the Lions take on the Chiefs. I'm going to do my Week 1 predictions. We're going to talk about some other things too. I'm kind of going to add some more takes on my Mike Evans thing. We talked about Mike Evans last week. I kind of want to add more to Mike Evans. And then I'm going to talk Team USA hoops to end the show. So college football, NFL, then Team USA hoops. They lost to Lithuania. If you didn't know already, pretty embarrassing loss. That's the format of the show. That's what we're going to talk about today. Let's get right into it. So, let me ask you guys this to start today's show. Have you ever looked at someone before and say, he looks like he was born to do what he's doing? Like whenever I look at Chris Rock, right, I see someone who was born to make people laugh. When I look at Robert Downey Jr., I see someone born to play Iron Man. When I see and hear Coach Prime on the sideline after the game talking about don't make me get comfortable, I see someone born for the job. Deion's personality and power was made to revive the dead program in Colorado. And look what we saw on Saturday. Colorado was 1-11 last season in a conference which is soon to no longer exist. Deion Sanders brought 68 new scholarship players and HBCU transfers to play an opening game against a Big 12 program, which was in the national title game this last winter on a big noon Saturday, and won. Deion Sanders was born for this. It was just an amazing game, an amazing moment. He hasn't been with the program for a full year. This was his first game. And what's so funny about college football, too, is they have no preseason. You have spring training and spring games like months ago, but there's no preseason like the NFL. NFL, you get 3 weeks of preseason right before the season. You go in cold. You go in raw. You don't know what you're going to run. You don't know what's going to work. You don't know what your lineup's going to look like. You don't know what your quarterback's going to look like. You don't know what your receivers are going to look like, your skill players. You come in raw against, I don't know, probably one of the hardest matchups, and I get it. They only have 3 returning starters, TCU, but this program, this coach, they had starters who were in the national championship game last season, a brand new team on a program that wasn't this relevant last year, and Deion Sanders takes them and beats TCU. It was insane. And a lot of the players, again, 68 new players, he was pulling up no preseason with true freshmen, HBU transfers, guys who weren't playing FBS talent. They were playing other talent that people just didn't think were good enough. That's all you heard last year. Remember Travis Hunter, Sanders, his son, Shadir Sanders. You heard this. They're good, but they're playing HBCU, lower talent. They come in week 1 and put 45 points up against TCU, the national champion runner-up. I think this game should rank Colorado. I think this was as big as it was. I didn't think they'd do it. They were the 20-point underdog in this game, was Colorado. They were the 20-point underdog. I didn't think they'd do it. I think they would make it close. I think they'd shine here and there. But ultimately, the team that was just in the national championship game, I think they'd win. This moment, how special it is, what this meant, the point total, the yards, the confidence, the swag, this should rank Colorado. Now I'm not saying Colorado should be like top 15, but like throw Colorado in 20, 25, 24. Put some pressure on them. They earned it. I mean, who else would you want them to play? Alabama, like they earned it. And it was just a crazy, incredible offensive explosion by the team. They scored in every quarter. Let's first highlight Shedeur Sanders. They have, two Heisman player contenders on this Colorado team already. Let's talk about Shedeur Sanders. In this game, he was 38 for 47. He was completing like 60, 70% of his throws at least 510 yards. This has to be the best performance by a Colorado quarterback ever. He was slinging it, 4 touchdowns, kept a clean game, no turnovers. He was throwing effortless passes. Again, this was a guy who was playing HBCU football. I wasn't really watching him much. I wasn't really watching Jackson State. I wasn't. I just wasn't. I really wasn't. I did watch Jackson State basketball last year when they came to my school, Miami. Mo Williams was the coach, but I didn't watch their football program much. I just heard about him. Shedeur Sanders is effortlessly throwing the football. He's looking like a top 5 quarterback in college football. The way he throws the ball, the way he can effortlessly push the ball down the field, and with the accuracy and the arm strength, 510 yards. That was just insane. Now, the skill position players, they had so many good guys. Dylan Edwards, Wilkerson, those are some good backs who also had great receiving. Edwards put 24 yards on the ground and a touchdown, but on the receiving end, Edwards caught 5 balls for 135 yards, 3 touchdowns. That man was elusive. He couldn't get brought down. He was breaking long touchdowns. So he had a 75-yarder. That's how good he was. And I wanted to highlight him before I got into Travis Hunter, because no one's really talking about how good Dylan Edwards. We're all focusing on Sanders and, of course, Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter, he was supposed to go to Florida State, who won yesterday, and he was like the number 1 kid out of high school. Deion Sanders got him to go to Jackson State. Now he brought him over to Colorado. No one's talking about this guy, Dylan Edwards. He's a true freshman. Like I said, they're running true freshmen out there, no preseason against the reigning runner-ups. But, of course, we got to talk about Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter, so, how, like, I'm not saying he's Shohei Ohtani, of course, but it's absolutely insane. Are we going to start seeing this trend in sports now where, like, these two-way players are going to start showing up? We're seeing it more and more on the lower sides of the ball. Travis Hunter is a two-way player in football. How do you just not get exhausted? It's 90-degree weather at TCU. You're burning hot in that Texas Christian weather. And you're playing, look at these snaps. So Travis Hunter even said after the game, he was still ready to go back in. He played over 110 total snaps in 100-degree heat. For reference, guys, an NFL game is about 153 snaps. He almost played an entire NFL game. And on offense, Travis Hunter, 11 receptions, 119 yards. He didn't have a touchdown receiving. He was this close to, though. He was very close to getting a touchdown receiving. He just couldn't maintain the ball going down, but it was an excellent catch. That's how impactful he was offensively. And then defensively is where he made most of it. It was a funny clip, too. I don't know if you guys saw it. They were chirping Travis Hunter all game. Like I said, Travis Hunter, he was a big name because he was one of the best recruits out of his high school class, and then he made a lot of noise for not going to Florida State instead of going to Jackson State. So a lot of people were already thinking about Travis Hunter. So before the game, this TCU kids were chirping him, saying, Hunter, you suck, you're overrated. And then Travis Hunter got an interception. It was so funny because they threw these kids that were chirping him were saying, throw to Hunter, throw to Travis. And Travis got an interception. He recorded three total tackles and got that interception. Just an amazing two-way effort. And shout out to Shiloh Sanders as well. The other Sanders who also doesn't get enough credit. He had 10 tackles as well, 10 total tackles as well. Shout out to Shiloh Sanders. Now Dylan Edwards did fumble the football, and TCU was still marching it down the field. That's my one thing concerned about this Colorado team. And I do want to make it clear. I'm not saying Colorado's like a college football playoff team. I don't think they're there yet. Despite having an insanely great true freshman and 2 Heisman candidates, I don't think they're one of the best teams in college football. I think they're ranked. I think they should be a top 25 team. But I do have concerns about them. And it's really, what are they going to do? It's a Pac-12 team. All offense, no defense, right? I'm concerned about their defense. 42 points, a poor tackling team. Colorado, I mean, we're all positive, so we do have to talk about some Colorado negatives. There were so many plays where TCU was just running it up the gut and just getting instant touchdowns or instant yards. I mean, they're Amani Bailey, the running back, had a 74-yard run because Colorado just couldn't stop him up the gut. Colorado couldn't tackle. There were so many missed tackles, bad pursuit angles from Colorado. Just getting beat. Now, TCU had their defensive problems as well. They couldn't tackle. They had bad pursuits. But particularly focusing on Colorado defensive backs getting beat. Chandler Morris, who I don't know if he's better than the kid who just was in for the national championship game, was Duggart or whatever. I don't think he's better than him yet. He did throw 2 interceptions, but he was still throwing the ball a little bit around. But it was mainly that running attack, which I'm concerned is when the Buffaloes do play a really good team, pulling up Buffalo's schedule. I mean, not saying TCU wasn't a good team, but they still got Oregon, USC. I can't imagine, and Utah. That's a tough schedule. I can't imagine what – I am excited for that game, though, but I can't imagine what Caleb Williams is going to do to this defense. I can't imagine what he's going to do to this defense, though. Just running around. You saw him, Caleb Williams, against Nevada, just completely break off runs. He's going to have a field day against his defense. But offensively, 2 Heisman candidates, Coach Prime on the sideline. This team can compete with pretty much almost anyone in football. The Coach Prime effect, though, is real. He brought over his recruits. He brought over new people, and they're instantly winning. I mean, look at shout out to ML Football on Twitter. He tweeted this out. The lowest ticket price for Colorado last season was $30. Now, next week against Nebraska, a team that's not even ranked. I'm pretty sure Nebraska just lost week 1. Nebraska is also a failing program. The tickets are $454. The $424 difference. But what he's doing with that program, man, is like culturally as well. The pregame speech, I tell you guys, you should look it up after the stream. His pregame speech was absolutely moving. I mean, if I was Colorado and Deion Sanders was in my locker room hyping me up, I think I want to run through everyone and break off a 75-yard touchdown. It's interesting, too, is like what he's doing is on his jerseys. You know how like teams have like the team captains, or they might have a sticker on their helmet or the team captain patch. There's no team captains for Colorado. Instead, they have the L for leader. They have an L patch for leader on their jersey, or a D patch on their jersey for dog. Sanders got a Shrewd Sanders. I just still don't know how to pronounce his name. Shedeur. I always forget his name. Shedeur Sanders has an L patch for leader. And, of course, Travis Hunter has a dog patch. But this is a really good team. Really good Colorado team. What Coach Prime is doing, like I said, there's just so many guys. You look at Muhammad Ali, born to box. Chris Rock, born to make people laugh. Jordan, born to win games. Downey, born to play Iron Man. I look at Coach Prime, his personality, born to coach a program that needed to be revived. You think about the other coaches in the NFL, I mean, in the college world, they have personality. But a Ryan Day, a Saban, a Kirby Smart, I'm thinking about all these coaches, a Mario Cristobal, all these guys, they're more a little button up. They're more reserved. They might say a comment here or there in a post-game press conference, but they're not as loud as a Deion Sanders. They needed someone loud like Deion with his conference, with Deion's pool. Deion has a pool where he can just pull recruits because it's Deion Sanders. Deion has money, personal money, recruit pool, name value, NFL connections to pull recruits. His pool, his power was 1,000% made for this Colorado job. I'm excited to see what Colorado does next year. They have this coming year, they have excellent players. And, man, I just hope they can play in a big bowl game by the end of the year. I'm not saying they're going to go undefeated. They still have to play Utah, look pretty good against Florida. They've been in back-to-back Rose Bowls. USC, Caleb Williams reigning Heisman. They still got Oregon, a still good team. We got to see how they do. But if they can win a couple of those games, I think they got Oregon first. I'm going to come back on the Oregon game and talk about you guys because I don't think I'm going to play against the smaller schools unless the drama comes up. But we're going to come back here in the Oregon game. We're going to get an update on this Coach Prime thing. So let's talk to the NFL now. Like I said, it's 3 days away. NFL kicks off on Thursday. So the first game on Thursday, the reigning champs always have the first game. So this year, the reigning champs are the Kansas City Chiefs. They play the Detroit Lions in Kansas City on Thursday. The banner reveal, it's a whole ceremony. But the issue all offseason has been their best defender, Chris Jones, is holding out. He wants a new contract. The 29-year-old defensive tackle, he wants a new contract. He's on his last year of his 4-year, $80 million deal, and he wants a new contract. And he hasn't been to camp, hasn't been to preseason, and it's looking like he is not going to play week 1. I mean, he's been putting quick cryptic tweets. He hasn't been in he hasn't been in contact with Andy Reid or most of the team. He's saying stuff like, I won't come back till at least week 8. There's all these reports, but he's 3 days away, no preseason, no camp. I 1,000% doubt he plays week 1. And I 1,000% doubt with all this rumors about him not in contact with the team and him still wanting the contract, he's not going to play for a while. Now, I'm not going to say he's not going to play for the whole season, but I don't think Chris Jones is going to play for a long time. We're going to go weeks without Chris Jones at the very least. He didn't report to practice on Sunday. They have a game on Thursday. Chris Jones, for people who don't understand, was voted as a top 10 player in the game, and most people believe he's a top 10 player in the game. Most people have him as the best defensive player in the sport over guys like TJ Watt and Aaron Donald. That's where they hold him up to. He was first team All-Pro. He had 15 and a half sacks last year. He also has the NFL record for most games with the consecutive sacks with 11. That's how dominant Chris Jones is for the Kansas City Chiefs. Top 10 player in this sport. The Chiefs need Chris Jones. They just do. They need Chris Jones. If they want to win, they want to win week 1, week 2. They want to start off the season with a great record. They want to win the Super Bowl. They need Chris Jones. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious, though. I think it's pretty obvious, though, right? They need Chris Jones. But it's a little deja vu to some people, no? This conversation about a Chiefs player needing an all-pro level talent. Deja vu, right? Hold on a second, though. I know the conversations around the Chiefs needing Chris Jones to win sound very similar to the Tyreek Hill conversations last year. I remember everyone wasn't so sure the Chiefs could still be the Chiefs without Tyreek Hill. And then they went on to win the Super Bowl at the end of the season. But this time isn't the same. I know they traded Tyreek and won the Super Bowl, but they still had Kelsey as an elite weapon that Coach Andy Reid schemes, and Patrick Mahomes' ability to elevate a literal box of scraps lineup outside. They still had that offensively. Chris Jones, on the other hand, is on the other side of the ball. That's out of the control of the Chiefs I just mentioned. And Frank Clark is now a Bronco. Without Chris Jones, the Chiefs might have the worst defensive front in the game. Chris Jones is arguably the best defensive player alive. And he's the biggest reason why the Chiefs have 2 rings not named Mahomes Kelsey. The Chiefs were second in sacks last year and 8th fewest in rush yards allowed. Losing him will hurt so bad, in my opinion, that I think if he doesn't come back soon, the Chiefs have very little chance to run it back. That's my hot take for the year. It's crazy because the Chiefs, 3 Super Bowls in the last 6 years, 5 straight NFC championship games, something crazy like that. Chris Jones has been there every single time. They have Mahomes, Kelsey, Reed, they still have those guys, solid offensive pieces around them. Dude, if Chris Jones isn't there, I'm not betting Chiefs. I still think they can win the division. Maybe the Chargers close a gap, but how much stock you can put on Russell Wilson and the Broncos again, or the Raiders with Jimmy Garoppolo. But when it comes to the Super Bowl, better than I know the Bengals lost defensive talent, but how much better are the Chiefs than the Bengals, especially without Chris Jones? Are the Bengals possibly better than the Chiefs if the Chiefs don't have Chris Jones? They can make that argument. Or the Bills have a better roster if you take off Chris Jones. You can make that argument. The new teams pop up, like the Jets and company. I don't like the Chiefs' odds. I know they still have Mahomes. They still have Kelsey. They still have Andy Reid. I don't like them without Chris Jones. And again, I was literally one of those people last year. It was one of my worst takes ever. I thought the Chiefs were not going to beat the Chiefs last year. I was one of those people that didn't put stock. I chose the Bills to win the Super Bowl at the beginning of last season because I didn't think that without Tyreek Hill, they can be as explosive offensively. And they came out and Mahomes threw for like 4 to 5 touchdowns against the Cardinals. But this is different. This is absolutely different. Andy Reid doesn't scheme up the defense. Patrick Mahomes is in control of the defense. Travis Kelce, without Chris Jones, they have no Travis Kelce level talent equivalent on the defense. Frank Clark, one of the best defensive pass rush guys ever, not there. He's a Bronco. In the playoffs for Frank Clark. It's without Chris Jones, what is this defense? This front has a bunch of no names. And I know my name's some casual takes. And I don't know every player in the world. But come on. You don't need to be the smartest football guy in the world to see a defensive front full of no names. 55 sacks last year for the Chiefs. That's second in the league. Chris Jones had 15 and a half of those sacks. 8th fewest rush yards in the league. Chris Jones, one of the best run stuffers up the middle. They have no one to stop the run next year. No Frank Clark, especially they have no one without Chris Jones to get to the quarterback. This is going to be like one of those Chiefs years again back in the day where it was all offense, no defense. You're asking so much for Patrick Mahomes. They're going to be giving up 25 to 30 points a game? The secondary was already pretty weak. The Chiefs defense was really mostly just their front seven during the Patrick Mahomes era. Now you take out the front seven. What is this defense? It's absolutely dog water. I think teams, especially great offenses that they do play this year, are going to punish them. And the Mahomes and Kelce and Reid, no matter how great they are, how smart they are, talented they are, they can't score every possession. They just can't. So some great offenses who have a bit better defenses could win these games. Their record to start the season might not be so hot. So week 1, like I said, they played Detroit Lions. I know it's in Kansas City. I'm looking at the line here for the game. The Chiefs are still these 6.5-point favorites. I don't even know if Vegas is factored in the fact that Chris Jones hasn't played. Maybe the line's going to move. But even if they did, 6.5 is crazy. I think this is my upset of the week. I mean, I got a couple more. I'm going to tell you guys after this. I'm going through the entire week 1 and predicting. I get the Lions beating the Chiefs to open the season. I got the Lions beating the Chiefs. If they don't beat the Chiefs, it's going to be very, very close. Like one of those 35 to 30 type games or 27 to 30 type games, 24 to 27 type games. It's going to be very close. But I can very realistically see this Detroit Lions team going into Kansas City, no Chris Jones, no defense for Kansas City. Week 1 off a Super Bowl win. Detroit Lions come in there and beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs, which is kind of weird because this is a Chiefs team that's looking to get 9 straight opening week victories. Patrick Mahomes has been flawless opening weekend. Flawless opening week. I think he's 11 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's been flawless to open the season. But I think without Chris Jones to stop the run, no Frank Clark as well, no one up front, a weak secondary. This is going to be a bottom defense. Again, this defense wasn't really good. Stopping the pass. I mean, honestly, I didn't really think their secondary was that good. What really saved them was getting to the quarterback and stopping the run. Now they have neither of that if Chris Jones isn't there. I think the Lions, 11th in rushing yards last season. They draft Jahmyr Gibbs. They bring in Montgomery. This Lions team is going to be looking to pound the ball. And it's going to open up the floor because, if you can pound the ball, you can run a lot of play actions and throw the ball deep and take shots and bring down the safeties. Detroit Lions also a really good passing team as well. Modron St. Brown, Jared Goff, one of the best passing offenses in the league coming, I predict, this season. If they were able to run the ball effectively on this team, the Kansas City Chiefs, they can have a scary passing tank as well, which would put the Chiefs. You're asking so much for Mahomes, asking so much for Kelce. Again, the Chiefs can still win, but I might take the Lions 30 to 27 to win week 1 or 27-24 to win week 1. I see them running down the throats. Hey, don't sleep on the Lions. Vegas is sleeping on the Lions. I still think the Lions are a tiny bit overrated coming into the season, but I still got the Lions winning the division, winning about 10 to 11 games. The Lions are a good team. The Lions have one of the best rushing, best offensive lines in the league. and they're going up against one of the worst defensive lines in the league. So without Chris Jones, one of the best, if not the best defensive player in the world, this Kansas City Chiefs defense is going to be in trouble. I can see the Chiefs losing on Thursday. And for as far as the rest of the season, without Chris Jones, this is not going to be a pretty season for the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, so before we go, like I said, we're talking Mike Evans. I want to expand on what I said about Mike Evans. Last pod, and then we're going to go to NBA. Before we do that, I'm going to predict you guys for the rest of my NFL predictions for week 1. This show kind of reminds me of a show I did freshman year in the fall. I called it NFL Sunday Hangover, where like part of the show I had a segment where I would go down and just say who I got winning games, who I got predicting the coming week. So I kind of wanted to do it here. Since there's also not that much news I wanted to talk about. It's like, this is week 1 prediction week. I don't think I'm going to do this every Monday, but to kind of kick off week 1 prediction week, I just want to give my week 1 dub. So just a little water break. Again, love a sponsorship during water breaks. Start with the 1 o'clock slate. Of course, the first game on my list, Colts-Jags. My Colts just happen to be the first game on this list. Let's quickly move off my Colts because I don't want to talk about how bad we are. We absolutely suck. We're winning 3 games this year. No Jonathan Taylor in this game. Probably no Jonathan Taylor for like half this season. We're the 5-point underdogs. We're losing this, of course. I mean, even being at home, 5-point underdog at home is insane. I've never seen it like that before. The Jags are going to beat us comfortably. Anthony Richardson's very first NFL regular season game. No Jonathan Taylor on his hip in the backfield. Don't see us winning this game. Jags, you know what I believe about the Jags. MVP Trevor Lawrence, number 1 seed in the AFC. Coach of the year Doug Peterson. They win pretty comfortably. I got the Jags should win by more than 5. Then Panthers, Falcons. This is a pretty interesting game here. CJ Stroud. Bryce, I always get those confused. If you ever listen to my pod, whenever I talk about these rookie quarterbacks, the Panthers and Texans, I always flip them. It's Bryce Young who is the quarterback for the Panthers. It's Bryce Young, Ritter, Hawks minus 3.5. Hawks. Falcons minus 3.5 in Georgia. I'm going to go Falcons. Again, this is a rookie quarterback. Bryce Young's very first NFL regular season game on the road against a Falcons team. Desmond Ritter does have that extra season experience. He has Bijan. I kind of like the Falcons' offensive weapons. I think they're more dynamic. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier. I think they're more dynamic than the Panthers. Although the Panthers, I think, have the better defense. I'm going to slide with the Atlanta Falcons to win this game. Not by much. They're 3.5-point favorites. I don't think I'm doing spread. I'll just take Falcons money. Bengals, Browns. I think this is what everyone's listening for me to predict. Bengals, Browns. Remember last season, coming off a Super Bowl. Nope. He had the appendicitis surgery. Joe Burrow didn't look so hot. I know the offensive line was still trying to get developed, but that's what we got last year. On the road in Cleveland, very, very little training camp, was dealing with that calf. Now he's back, don't practice, but very, very little training camp. No preseason. I think I'm going to take the Browns to win this one. Now the Bengals are the road favorites. I think I'm going to take the Browns to beat the Bengals to open up the season. Still got the Bengals winning the North, though. Still got the Bengals winning the North. You guys know how I think about the Bengals. Still got them win the North. Still think they'll be one of the best offense in the league. But this is week 1. And Joe Burrow only has 1 win in his entire career against the Cleveland Browns. The Browns always play a little bit better against the Bengals. They do. Remember that game against in Cleveland last year. I'll take the Browns to start the season. I have good vibes about Deshaun Watson coming back and stepping up this season. Not fully. We're actually going to do the Browns in a little bit later. Give me the Browns to beat the Bengals to open the season. Bucks, Vikings. Vikings kill the Bucks. This is Baker Mayfield versus No. Baker Mayfield's not winning this game. We're going to talk about the Bucks a little bit later. Vikings kill the Bucks. Titans, Saints. I'm feeling the Saints this year. I'm on the Saints train. I got them winning the division. I think they're going to be about a pretty solid team. They're in the They're in the Superdome. I got them beating the Titans. Roll Saints. Roll Derek Carr, former Pro Bowl quarterback. Got Chris Olave. Got some weapons. Got a squad. Pretty good defense at home to start the season. Give me the Saints to win this game. 49ers, Steelers at home, but the 49ers beat them. That's just talent mismatch, especially offensively. Just a talent mismatch. Give me the 49ers in that one. Cardinals, Commanders. We're going to speed it up here. Colt McCoy, I believe, starting this game, I think. No Kyler Murray because he's still recovering from injury. Going up against the Commanders. Sam Howell. Commanders are the 7.5-point favorite. I don't know if they win by 7, but I'm definitely going to still take the Commanders at home to start the season. I just think they're the more talented team. And then the more stable, which is weird to say, the more stable organization when we were talking about the Commanders here. Texans, Ravens. Ravens 10 points favorite. I'm taking the Ravens. This is now CJ Stroud's first game. I think the Ravens in Baltimore open the season. Again, I'm not taking any of these rookies to win week 1. You guys know how I feel about the rookies. None of them are winning offensive player of the year. I think they're all in bad offense rookie of the year. They're all in bad offenses. I'll take the Ravens to win this one. Packers, Browns. Now Vegas knows this is close. This is very tough. I'm probably not ever going to bet on this game. Again, this is not betting advice, by the way. A little warning, this isn't betting advice. Packers, Browns. This is actually close. Justin Fields, year 3. Jordan Love, first year starting in Chicago. I think since it's in Chicago, Jordan Love, first year starting. I'm going to just take the Bears. Again, I don't think this is going to be a pretty game? Probably not. But it's Jordan Love's first game starting on his first, no, it's not first game starting, but first year starting. So first game, the expectations, the pressure. I'll just say the Bears. I would just avoid this game. Vegas is also saying avoid this game. Raiders, Broncos. I'll take the Broncos at home. Both teams I'm not a particular fan of, but I'll take the Broncos at home. We're in the 425 games now. I'll take the Broncos. Sean Payton, Russell Wilson. Hopefully, I think they're going to be slightly more better last year. I don't think they're going to be all the way better than last year. I've been riding the Broncos are an underrated team for the last 5 years. They haven't shown me that at all, but I think they're going to be a bit better than the Raiders. If the Raiders win this game, though, whatever. I don't trust the Raiders defensively. Hopefully, I'm hopeful for Russell Wilson to kind of throw this defense around a little bit. Eagles, Patriots, going Eagles here. This is an offensive talent mismatch. The Patriots are going to be an offensive talent mismatch for half the season. We're going to get into the Patriots offensively in a little bit. Give me the Eagles in this one. I know I got them having a little Super Bowl hangover. They're just not going to have it against the Patriots. In Foxborough, though, still not against the Patriots. Dolphins, Chargers. This is going to be a fun game. Remember last year it was in Los Angeles, and the Chargers kind of, stomped the Dolphins, kind of embarrassed them a little bit on NBC. This game's going to be on CBS in Los Angeles. It's going to be a very high-scoring game. This is a game that I've struggled to pick. It's the Chargers minus 3.5. But a team that I like to start this now. I have the Chargers finishing the season better, but I always love, if I have to pick, I got to pick an underdog sooner or later. I need to start picking a couple underdogs. So if I'm going to pick at least 3 underdogs, give me the Dolphins. Mike McDaniel offense to start the season. They learned from their Chargers game last year. I hope Tua's back. Tua's healthy. Dolphins defense is better from last season. Give me the Dolphins to win a close one. High scoring. It's going to be fire. Going to be a good game. That's a must watch. Rams, Seahawks. Give me the Seahawks. The Rams are going to be better than last season, but not by a whole lot. Not 2021 standards, but Stafford is going to be back. He's saying he's healthy. Kupp is going to be back. Some of their core guys are going to be back, not banged up, but the Seahawks are just better than them. They're deeper than them, and it's in Seattle. Cowboys, Giants, NBC, prime time. Dallas is 3.5 road favorite. And I'm going to do that. I think that Cowboys are going to be the 2 seed in the NFC, only behind the 49ers. I really like the Cowboys this year. I think they're a very, very, very good team. And I just think they're better than the Giants. So give me the Cowboys to win this one. There's this Dak Prescott's expectation. Now he has Trey Lance. Hopefully that Trey Lance just lights a fire under his ass and he throws out a couple, like a 3 touchdown performance against the Giants. And on Monday we have Bills, Jets. Oh, September 11th. Monday, 8:15. Bills are the 2.5 point. Bills are the 2.5 point road favorite. I mean, I think I'm just going to take the Bills here. I like the Jets. I really like the Jets. The Jets are at home. I think the Jets are going to be rivaling for that division by the end of the season. But I think since the Bills have been playing together, Diggs, Allen, for a longer time, I think they win a close one. They have more consistency. They've been here before as the Jets. They're kind of starting fresh a little bit with Aaron Rodgers. They lose a close one. But, man, I don't know, because we just seen that Deion Sanders thing I was talking about like teams coming out and winning that first week 1 game when everyone's against. In honor of Deion Sanders, in honor of the underdog week 1 team that people are all talking about, I'm going to pick the Jets to beat the Bills. Hopefully this doesn't backfire. Because we actually know, I'm going to leave we're going to have a Monday show. I'm not going to talk about this game. We have a Monday show next coming Monday, which will be live before this game. We'll save the predictions for that. We're going to save the predictions for that. I'm going to come back to that game. But right now, initially, I have the Jets in honor of Deion Sanders, in honor of the team that has a lot of attention going this season, that is the underdog to start the year. We don't know what they're going to look like. Script writers say Jets. Fine. All right, let's switch to Mike Evans. Like I said, I was going to expand on Mike Evans. We talked Mike Evans on last podcast. We talked about Mike Evans on the last podcast. For a recap, if you weren't there, said Mike Evans is looking for a new contract, and if he doesn't get a new contract by week 1, which is literally in 3 days, it's very likely that this year will be his last year as a Buccaneer. Could possibly maybe get traded this year. We don't know. So we were saying last podcast, kind of talking about more of Mike Evans' legacy, but I want to talk about Mike Evans' landing spots. Like I said, last podcast, we were talking about his legacy. Like, is Mike Evans a Hall of Famer? That's where we kind of pivoted towards. But I want to keep this more current. This was also a topic we just didn't have enough time that I wanted to talk about last week. Mike Evans' landing spots. So if this is the last season as Mike Evans as a Buccaneer, what are the 5 teams that Mike Evans could go to and have instant impact and start winning a lot of football games? What are 5 teams that really need? Obviously, the bottom of barrel teams like the Houston, like bottom barrel teams, of course, will love Mike Evans. But let's talk about like teams where Mike Evans can go in and make instant impact and just change playoff standings, change maybe a playoff win, change an offense so much so, change some wins, change standings if he's there. So let me give you guys my 5 teams where I think Mike Evans should land if he were to go, if he were to leave Tampa Bay. Best 5 landing spots for Mike Evans, starting number 1 with the New York Giants. The Giants, they made the playoffs last year and won a game strictly running the ball. 4th best rushing offense, but the 7th worst passing. Now, most will blame Daniel Jones' lack of arm talent for this, but I think the Giants have the worst wide receiver health in the league in Jones' tenure. Adding Evans, a guy who's adding Evans' consistency, 9 straight 1,000-yard seasons will boost this offense. Number 2, this isn't in order, by the way, but New England Patriots. When was the last time this franchise had a wide receiver number 1 talent? It was Randy Moss. But that was so long ago. I think I was learning addition and subtraction with building blocks. Most mid offense in the league the last 2 seasons, Mike Evans is a real outside threat. How about this one? Cleveland Browns. Browns have never in their entire history, which is so interesting because they've been in the NFL for so long. They're one of the oldest NFL franchises ever, have had a receiver go back-to-back 1,000-yard years. Amari Cooper could do this season, but that shows you the franchise's wide receiver history. If Watson at least gets back to 80% of what he was in his peak, and you add Mike Evans on the outside next to Amari Cooper, are we talking AFC North favorites here with the Browns? This team isn't a playoff team, but I think Mike Evans could really change this offense, that being the Indianapolis Colts. What is the biggest trend in football recently? A team has a young quarterback who's trying to take a young quarterback. They add an elite wide receiver number one to their young quarterback, and it just speeds up his development. We've seen it throughout history. We've seen it throughout the game. Anthony Richardson is on a mid-offense. Pittman is not the elite wide receiver number one that he needs, especially without Jonathan Taylor. His offense is not good. You had Mike Evans to Anthony Richardson, a dude who completed 55% of his throws in college. You could really help him as a passer if you add that big of a threat on the team. And lastly, the Dallas Cowboys. So the Dallas Cowboys, I never liked getting rid of Amari Cooper. I thought it forced their entire passing attack onto CD. If you want to be sure on Dak, you already traded for Trey Lance. If you want to be sure on Dak, give him the most help possible. And if you can't win with CD and Evans, then I don't know who. Then he's for sure not your guy. But with Evans, this might be the best offense in the league. And it's Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones would definitely love to pursue Mike Evans. But those are the 5 teams I think Mike Evans could really change if he went on to their teams. Like the Giants, they were like 40 rushing yards shy, like per game, than passing. It's insane. You don't see that in the modern NFL. Modern NFL is throw down the field, 300 passing yards a game, 4,000 passing yard seasons. They rush for 148.2 rush yards a game, but only threw for 185.7. That's less than a 40-yard difference in rush versus pass. And they still managed to win a playoff game. Now, again, I don't think Daniel Jones is the best passer in the world, but think about the wide receiver health of the Giants since he's been there. I'm thinking about now he's no longer there, but Evan Ingram, he was always banged up. Sterling Shepard, these guys are always banged up. He never had solid wide receiver number one who was there who played 16, 17 games. Never had one. You add Mike Evans, who plays pretty much the entire season, plays all 16, now 17 games, plays all 17. He can get you 1,000 yards. That would just open up the offense. Now, they still probably prefer the run. They brought back Saquon Barkley. Jones is also a runner himself. They still probably prefer the run. But Mike Evans would add a healthy receiving threat, which could help this offense. Like I said earlier, imagine if they run play actions with Saquon. These teams are already stacking the box on Saquon Barkley, but now you also have the game plan for that Jones-Mike Evans connection. And for the Patriots, again, they have Juju Smith-Schuster as their wide receiver number one. That is not no wide receiver number one. Since Randy Moss, who hasn't been a Patriot since 2011, 2010, Wes Welker's now wide receiver number one. Julian Edelman, Amendola, N'Keal Harry. These guys aren't wide receiver number ones. They haven't had an elite wide receiver number one talent since Moss. It's been 13 years. I was literally doing cursive homework, playing with Legos, watching SpongeBob every Saturday morning before, you know what I'm saying? It's last time they had a wide receiver number one. This offense is so mid. It's middle of the pack, everything. From talent to even quarterback to schemes to plays to what I'm seeing motion wise. It's mid everything. They were barely over 200 yards passing last year. That was the 13th worst. Again, that's middle of the pack. Daniel Jones was a Pro Bowl in his rookie year. He looked promising, but he went backward last season. I blame it most on having Nat Patricia trying to run your offense. Now Bill O'Brien, a trusted dude running this offense. You add Mike Evans to that team, it's better. Ramondre Stevenson is a good running back. You have a top 15 running back in the game. Now you just need a receiver. And with the Browns, I think the Browns already have a top 10 roster in the game. But what's better than having one elite wide receiver? Two. And it's the same thing with the Dallas Cowboys. Two top 10 rosters in the game, two good offenses. Now I think the Browns offense can be worse than Cowboys, and that's mostly because I don't know what I'm getting from Deshaun Watson. Now Deshaun Watson can come in and be at least like I said, like 80% of what he was in Houston at his peak, like 2020, 2019. Then they can have similar offenses, but you add Mike Evans also alongside Amari Cooper and a CeeDee Lamb. You're going to have some of the best offenses in the league. And like I said with the Colts, you could also say the same thing with the Texans, or the Panthers, like adding a young quarterback. I kind of just threw that, adding a elite wide receiver to a young quarterback. I kind of just threw that in there because I'm a biased Colts fan. I am a biased Colts fan. But like the offensive coordinator, the coach of the Colts was the offensive coordinator of the Eagles when they added in. Why am I forgetting his name? When they added in A.J. Brown. And it was like this step that Jalen Hurts took as a passer. His passing stuff went up when everyone was saying he was a running back. Look what that did for Jalen Hurts. Now he's over at Indy as head coach. Elite wide receiver now. I don't think Mike Evans is in the tier as A.J. Brown, but he's a former wide receiver number one. He's a better wide receiver number one. Pittman, 9 straight 1,000-yard seasons. He could be that for the Colts, for Anthony Richardson. All right, to wrap up the show, we're pushing an hour. I think this is going to take us an hour. To wrap up the show, I want to talk about Team USA. Oh, my God. That was just embarrassing. If you guys didn't know, it was all over Bleacher Report in the media because we just could not handle how embarrassing this is. It's like when Team USA basketball, it's like the world ends. When we lose in basketball, we rarely lose. Like we make documentaries. We made a Netflix documentary about how we recovered from losing. That's how our program is. We rarely lose these FIBA games because we're supposed to go undefeated and win gold easily. That's the standard. So when we lose, it's shocking. It's embarrassing. So we lost to Lithuania 109-104 on Sunday. I first want to apologize to Noah Lyles. I said 2 shows ago that, Noah Lyles, probably the best track and field runner for America. He there was a controversy. He said post one of his runs saying that the NBA aren't world champions. And I kind of said on 2 pods ago that the NBA were world champs. And I went on a huge spiel explaining why. I'll take it back, dude. We lost to Lithuania. We ain't no world champs. We're not no world champs, dude. We just lost to Lithuania without LaMelo Ball. Remember LaMelo Ball was playing with Lithuania when instead of going to college, he was 17, 18. That's where LaMelo Ball was at. He was playing with his brother. That's who we were losing to. We were losing to Jonas Valanciunas and a bunch of Lithuanian NBA players who I can't tell you their names and have their rosters not even the NBA. It was embarrassing. Dude, it was so embarrassing. A Lithuania player was wearing a Team USA hat while celebrating in the locker room. Someone said it. I don't forget who said it. I really want to credit them so much, but someone said it. Teams just aren't fearing Team USA basketball anymore. Remember when the Dream Team came out? Now, I know this is not the Olympics. It's still FIBA. But I remember, the Dream Team, we put the fear of God in other countries. Countries are so scared, they were taking pictures of us, and they weren't guarding us. They were flicking up with us after the game. They were not even guarding us. Now they're trying so hard. They're stealing our hats and celebrating. Teams aren't scared of us. Now, I remember I made a whole podcast saying this Team USA roster's mid. It is mid. I still think they have a really good roster, but this Team USA's roster is mid. I didn't really go deep dive. I wouldn't dive into the players' names, but I didn't really dive deep into the dynamics of the team because I kind of wanted to wait and see how it would go. But this is one of my biggest fears is, well, first of all, I do want to say basketball is a make or miss sport. It's a make or miss sport. At the end of the day, no matter, you can be the most talented team in the world. I saw the poopy Lakers beat the 73-9 Warriors. If you just get hot one day, you can beat anybody. Lithuania was just hot. 9 players hit a 3. 1 player hit a 3. Had a heavily contested 3 where Anthony Edwards is literally right in his face. It was kind of reminiscent of all those Mickey Mouse shots, lucky shots that the Nuggets hit on the Lakers, where they're just so contested. If they just go in, it's your day. You can't do anything about it. Austin Reeves was probably getting PTSD on the sideline. It was that close. It's just a make or miss sport. And USA actually cut it to 4 after a 15-2 run, but Lithuania put it away. Usually, a couple games ago, remember, I forgot I was against. Dang. I forgot I was against. Was it Greece? I forgot I was against. Sorry for being an unprepared podcast host, but USA was down like almost like 20 against a team. And I think it was in the exhibition game, though, and they came back and won because that team that we played got cold. And usually if USA is applying pressure to teams, they just fold. But this team was just so hot. They were making all the shots. They didn't give up that lead. We were in 20 ball in the first quarter. It was that bad. But like I was saying, going back to the team dynamic and roster construction, a huge flaw of this team is that we're too small. We are just too small. I noticed that too. Like Jaren Jackson, Ben Caro, these are power forwards that were forced to play centers. These are 6'10 guys forced to play center. Walker Kessler, he is a center, but he's barely playing. Steve Kerr refuses to play him unless literally we're getting absolutely destroyed. We're just too small. Everyone thinks stealing the ball, blocking shots is like the best way to end a defensive possession. If you want to know the best way to, I'm going to tell you guys, the best way to end a defensive possession is rebounding the basketball. That's the most efficient way, the easiest way, the most common way to end a defensive possession is to rebound the basketball. And we didn't do that at all. We lost the rebounding battle against Lithuania 43-27. Jonas Valanciunas and all those guys were destroying us, particularly in the offensive side of rebounding. Lithuania had 18 offensive rebounds. 18! That is horrific. That is something you cringe. I cringed when I read that stat. 18 offensive rebounds. That's just flat out embarrassing. No boxing out. They're just jumping over us, stealing these rebounds. And again, it's because we don't really have a true center. We're running Jaren Jackson as a center. He's not a center. We kind of saw it against the Lakers in the first round. Jaren Jackson's not a center. Steven Adams is a center. Jaren Jackson isn't a center. Although he's the defensive player of the year, we knew he was an overrated defender by a bit because, one, he's a poor rebounder. Very poor. He had 0 against Montenegro the first game. He had 0 rebounds. A center, our center, had 0 rebounds in a real game. And then had 1 rebound against Lithuania. 1 total rebound in 2 real games. These aren't the exhibition games. These count. You lose a couple of these, you're out. He had 1 total rebound. That's tough. Everyone's so focused on his blocks for Jaren Jackson. Like I said, the best, most underrated part of defense is rebounding. Jaren Jackson isn't doing that. So I think Anthony Davis clears him as a defender. He had 5 fouls. So the fouling problem, oh my God, the fouling problem, we've always known this is an issue. Again, he's just jumping into defenders, getting in foul trouble. He had 2 fouls in like the first 3 minutes. And we immediately had to pull him, which also hurt the rebounding side because that's just we're down a big man. We just couldn't rebound, and they just got hot. It's 2 things. You want to rebound, and you don't want your opponent to be hot. Your opponent's hot, and you can't rebound. That's an auto loss. Surprised you only lost by 5. And we probably only lost by 5 just because we're so talented. So talented enough. We got a guy named Anthony Edwards, 35 points. I want to do a quick shout to him. I know this doesn't count. This is an NBA game, so this can't really count on my player standings, but I really want to move him up on my list. Anthony Edwards is just showing me again after again that he's him. 35 points. That's like 3 shy of Kevin Durant's Team USA record in points in a single game. He did so much heavy lifting to keep us in this game, and it just wasn't enough. Like I said, I still have faith in Team USA. They still managed to qualify for the knockout round, so we're still alive. I think so. To break up any confusion, I'm sounding a lot of negative here. We're still alive. We can still get gold. We're playing knockout round. We qualified still for the Olympics. We're fine. But if we lose our next game against Italy, if we lose this game, that means we're 7th place. We're out of FIBA. We're still in the Olympics. We qualified, but we're out of FIBA if we lose next game. That's a 7th place finish. Do we want to be 7th place? Oh my God, if I come up on here, I would be irate. You do not want to tune in for this episode if we, the United States, finish 7th place in FIBA. When we invented this sport, we had the best players in this sport, majority of the deepest roster in this sport. They're American, and we lose. That's bad. Like I said, we have the best roster left. We have the deepest roster left. We don't have the SGA. We don't have a Luka. We don't have the best player, but we have the deepest roster, and Anthony Edwards is good enough to compete with those guys. Especially when Spain, France, some of the favorites going in and some of the favorites in FIBA history, they're both out with the knockout rounds. And Canada, even with SGA and a pretty good roster, they're our rival in terms of odds. They're the second favorite. They barely got into the knockout rounds. I still think USA can win gold, but my faith in them after seeing this, hopefully this is a wake-up call for Steve Kerr. Hopefully we go bigger. We tried to go bigger and it still didn't work. Hopefully go bigger for the entire game. And in these coming practices before Italy, we just focus on rebounding the damn ball. But we're an hour in, guys. And that's the end of the show. I'm starving. So I haven't ate food all day. I've been grinding the show, grinding the research, grinding highlights, trying to give you guys the best podcast out there. So I want to thank you guys, to all the people who listened live on Twitch. I know I started late, but we had a couple good amount of people in here who have the notifications turned on, people who tune into my Snapchat story and click the link and watch the live show. But to the YouTube viewers, I don't not like you. I love you guys as well. We have more viewers on YouTube than we do live on Twitch. So shout out to all the people who listen to the podcast on YouTube. Make sure you follow all social medias. The handle is the same on everyone. Some casual takes. Just stay updated to all things on the show. And if there's ever a highlight you want to go back to, I always post clips there as well. Next show will be Friday at 11. We'll be talking about Thursday Night Football. We'll see if the Chiefs, and without Chris Jones, they don't miss a beat and I can just eat my words. But until then, see you guys Friday.